Let's start in a minute. Just checking, am I audible? So let's give it a minute and then we can start. Okay, just a few more seconds. Cool. I think we can start. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Gokul, and I'm the founder of Recruit. We are a talent acquisition platform. We have offices in India, Australia, and then we serve across the globe. Now, this webinar we wanted to do for a long time, and a lot of HR managers, talent acquisition leaders have been asking us about AI and AI interviews. So, and they have a lot of questions. So they see a lot on media about AI interviews and so forth. So they have a lot of questions. So we thought we will do this webinar to answer some of the questions that they have, right? But one thing they all agree is that the hiring process has become very intensive, resource intensive, right from posting the job application to screening the resumes, and then scheduling the screening calls, scheduling the interviews, coordinating with the candidate and the hiring managers, and then meeting with the hiring managers' expectations, and then at the end issuing the appointment letters and so forth. So it has become very intensive. So all of them have the same thought process in place, right? Can they use AI to streamline or improve some of these resource intensive processes, right? And that's when a lot of the questions is around, can the entire interview process, at least the initial rounds, be automated so that when it goes to the hiring manager has a lot of information, insights that they generally a human would not be able to produce. And the hiring manager, when they talk to the candidates, they are able to then make a much more informed decision. So that's some of the questions that a lot of our clients have been asking. Let's try to address them through the next 20 minutes. So this webinar will go on for 20-25 minutes, plus we can have as much discussion as we can. And we will start off by talking about the problems in the current recruitment processes, and then we'll go on to talk about what is AI interview, how does that look like, what are the advantages. Then we will see a live demo, a quick 1 minute live demo to get a look and feel, and then we will move on to some of the considerations when using AI. Okay, let's move on. So before we start, let's set the context. uh, when we talk about the standard current hiring workflow, we are talking about these stages, right? You start by you start by posting the job application on job boards. Candidates apply, their resumes get screened. Most of the companies now use ATS, application tracking system, where the resume gets screened based on keywords, uh, and then from there, the best resumes are then shortlisted. The HR or the recruiter would then call the candidate, do a basic screening, basically around their interest, their resume, and around their salary expectations and notice period availability and so forth. And then once that is done, the best candidates or most suitable candidates then move on to do what is the initial interview. The initial interview is generally a junior person in the team, or a HR manager would do the interview. That's like initial validation, initial check whether the candidate has got enough to move on to the other stages of interviews. At this stage, some companies do coding interviews if they are a software company, some do behavioral interviews, psychometric tests, and so forth. And then there is the HR interviews, sorry, the hiring manager interviews, and then they go on to candidate selection. Then the negotiation happens, and then the offer is released. Now that's the standard hiring workflow. Now we all know every company faces challenges with recruitment. Let's talk about some numbers here, right? Um, Average time for the entire hiring process to happen is around 44 days. And most of the times, you select a few candidates, take it to the hiring manager. It does not meet the hiring manager's expectations. You again go back to resume screening, right from step one, and then all the way back to the hiring manager, right? And this becomes very prevalent in roles where requires niche skills like cybersecurity, architects, requiring electronics, and so forth. The expectations of the hiring manager are very high, and then you only have few candidates who can meet those expectations. So the cycle continues. And then one of the major problems that a lot of our hiring managers have told us, or human HRs and talent acquisition recruiters have told us, is that a lot of the time is spent on scheduling alone, right? You got talk to the candidate, you schedule the interview with them, then you schedule the next interview with them, then you got to look at the hiring manager's availability. You have to block both their diaries, and if one of them is not available, then you got to redo the same thing again. It's a lot of time spent on a repetitive task that can easily be automated. It's a low value task. um, I don't think anybody should be spending their time on this task. It's something that can be automated. Then then the most important thing is keeping the candidate's interest in the job, right? Because once the candidate starts looking, he will be applying for multiple roles, and the best candidates always have multiple interviews, happening at the same time. So how does an organization keep the candidate's interest and make sure that the interest stays the same till the end? Because the way the candidate is treated during the interview or during the hiring process is is how most of the time he or she takes a decision. If the candidate is taken care of really well, then his impression of the organization is increases, and the chances that he will accept the offer at the end of the recruitment process becomes high, right? But what we have seen is, in this entire process, a lot of the times we don't keep the candidates informed, we don't keep them in the loop. And if you don't keep the candidates in the loop for a week, then the candidate lose interest, they move on to other job roles, right? So it's a two-way side. Like candidates applying for a job, we also look for the best candidates, and the best candidates always have multiple options. So these are some common problems. Then, as I mentioned, too many steps, right? The current hiring process has got too many steps. Lot many times I've seen companies have 3 or 4 rounds of interviews, and then at the end, when you reject a candidate really feels disappointed, because the candidate in this entire process would have spent 8-9 hours with interviewing for the company. And every interviewer interviews differently, right? Within the same team, if there are two hiring managers, each hiring manager looks for skill sets that they are comfortable with. Some hiring manager might be interested in people who can solve problems. Some hiring managers might be interested in those who can speak and communicate better, right? So when they judge differently. Now, so that is a problem that many companies face. Big organizations have training programs for interviewers, and they are trying to standardize the process. But for those medium-sized organizations, or those organizations which are not that big, this is a problem they got to solve every day. And the second point around biased decisions comes from the first one, right? We have seen in our experience, most interviewers favor candidates that they are much more much more common with. For example, if you are from a particular region in a country, you speak a particular language, you are a particular person with the same interest, then the interviewer will be able to connect with the candidate, right? We have seen in some cases interviewers connecting with candidates because both of them like soccer, right? Now that could lead to biased decisions, because humans think in a certain way. Now, if we are going to connect with the candidate because of a certain require a certain reason, then the decisions could become biased. And then, needless to say, among all of this, there are too many scheduling requirements, which becomes a problem. And then another major problem in all of this is candidate no-shows. You've done all the work, you schedule the interview, you wait for the candidate, but the candidate never turns up because of some reason. That would be the biggest disappointment of all, right? Because the hiring manager has blocked his diary, the HR have blocked their diary, the panel is waiting, the candidate does not turn up. That is a big disappointment. And we see that in out of every 20 interviews, this is our analysis. Out of every 20 interviews, at least one or two interviews become a no show. That's like 1 in 10 to 20 interviews, and in some cases it becomes even higher, right? In some cases it is 2 or 3 out of 10, right, for certain roles in certain regions. So these are problems that the hiring managers face at the moment. There are many other problems, but I'm talking about the major ones that everybody can connect with. And these are some things that can easily be solved. Now, this does not require rocket science. These are something repetitive tasks that AI can easily solve. These are low-hanging fruits that AI can easily solve. So let's talk about now. This is the hiring manager side, right? Let's quickly talk about candidate expectations, right? Candidate expect to be moved to the next stage as quickly as possible, right? They apply for they apply to a job. They expect somebody to call the candidate or and talk to them, or at least tell them that they have not been selected. They have an information is provided to them on the decision taken on their resume. And if somebody calls them, the candidate expects that the organization tells them, okay, these are the rounds that we have got these are the rounds in the selection process. This is how much time it is going to take. So the clear communication is what candidate expects. And a lot of the young generation, this might sound very surprising to a lot of hiring managers and HRs. 85% of candidates, the young candidates, now prefer digital interview options. Now, that was a LinkedIn survey. That is not ours. That was a LinkedIn survey that was done in 2024. And we have seen, because being a talent acquisition platform, we see a lot of the young candidates prefer AI interviews, which we will see as we go through the webinar. And the main reason is because they have the luxury, right? They can do whatever they want during the day. They come during the night, probably after 8 or 9 o'clock. That's when they actually do the AI interview. And because it gives them flexibility, it gives them the freedom. And if you ask them why can't they do it in the morning, why can't they do it during the daytime, they say they can concentrate best in the night. So you'll see a lot of these young people actually doing these interviews late in the night, when they can sit in the comfort of their home, and then when their brains are working the best, and that's when they actually do these interviews. So digital interview is something that the young candidates prefer a lot. And as I mentioned, clear communication, right? So this is overall, this is the problems that the organizations face. And compare that, these are the expectations of the candidate. Now, the organizations in most of the times are not meeting the candidate expectations when it comes to recruitment journey. Now, here is where the AI interview will come. The AI interviewer will become a real game changer for organizations and candidates, because it is solving some of the problems, or all the problems that are mentioned here. It does not solve all the recruitment problems. It is not going to solve all your recruitment problems, but it will solve all the problems mentioned here in the last 3 slides. And that's why we put it up. So what is an AI interview? What are AI interviewers, right? Now, these are virtual interviewers. Now, think of an interview process where an interviewer will log into Google Meet or Teams or Zoom. It's a virtual interview, and then the candidate also logs in, and the human interviewer, could be a recruiter or a talent acquisition manager, whoever, then starts asking questions to the candidate, and the interview happens. Imagine that instead of the talent acquisition manager or the hiring manager in the initial rounds doing the interview, the AI takes the interview. Instead of the human interviewer asking the questions, the AI asks the questions. And that is an AI interview. So the way it works is, you set up the interview, you set up the questions, and you just have to give the basic questions, and then the AI can build up as it involves in a conversation with the candidate, and then it goes on to ask questions. The candidate responds. Based on the response, the AI will ask further questions, and the interview continues. Everything is captured on video. There are a lot of security mechanisms in place to ensure the candidate does not use external help, like does not use an AI to answer the questions. And a lot of these questions, the answers are, and the evaluation criteria is based on the criteria that you set. So the advantage is all the candidates are evaluated the same way, right? Now, most of the questions could be the same, or most of the questions will come from the resume, right? The AI will not be asking the same questions to every candidate like a human would, but the way it would assess every candidate would be the same. And it will use natural language processing, NLP, to understand the answers provided by the candidate and the context. For example, in our case, what we do, the way we have set up our AI is all the questions will be behavioral questions. Let's say the question is, can you tell us a project when you did this, when you went and did a sales thing? The expectation is the candidate will say that, okay, in this company when I worked in the past, this was the project I did. This is how I solved the problem. This is how I went and did this. If that is the expectation, right? And this is the expectation for all the candidates. And if the candidate is not able to answer that, then the AI will probe more, right? Will ask more questions. Okay, tell me a specific example when you did this. Trying to evaluate every candidate at the same level. And as you see the stats before, AI interviews are ensuring that the interview process is very consistent, more consistent than a human interview, and it is much more structured. That is the value it provides. So what does AI interviewers do? Right now, we have understood what is an AI interview. Let us talk about what does AI interviewers do. Right? How does it solve the problems we discussed in the first few slides? Right? Now, what it does is, first thing is, once the resume is applied or posted by the candidate to a job application, the AI will automatically screen the resumes. Most of the ATS does that, right? But the screening is much more than keyword search. It is contextual, right? Keyword search would be, you look for specific keywords. Okay, if it's a sales example, right? Okay, has the candidate provided demos? Can the candidate do lead generation? Lead generation demos are keywords most of the ATS would look for in a resume. Now, let's say that this candidate, instead of the word demos, he has used the word showcase. Instead of the word demos, he has written, I have showcased the product to a lot of potential customers. Now, a typical ATS will not be able to pick it up because the keywords does not match. But in the case of an AI-based screening, the AI will be able to pick it up because the context remains the same. Even though the words are different, the context is the same. So the AI will be able to pick it up. And from there, instantly, what the AI can do, the AI interviewer can do, is do a screening call. Now, this is very instant. This does not require a set time. Unfortunately, a human but doing a screening call would take time because the human will have to do one after another. So the call might happen after a day or after 2 days. Imagine the candidate applies to a job, and within 5 minutes or 4 minutes, the AI calls the candidate and talks to them, says, hey, you've just applied for this role. We are calling to do a screening, and I'm an AI bot, and then asks a series of questions in natural language and starts the conversation with the candidate. That is something that the AI can do. Now, what that means is it is immediately solving the first problem with relation to screening calls, talent acquisition managers being on the phone, trying to talk to the candidates, trying to coordinate with the candidates, which takes like 40% of their time. Now, what else can it do, right? Let's say the screening has gone well, this person is really good, then the AI can automatically send an AI interview, a video interview to the candidate, ask them to do the interview. Now, there are two ways of this interview. Either the AI can say, okay, here is a link to your, we have sent a link to your inbox. Do this interview in the next 48 hours or before this day. Do it anytime, log in, do it. We will the AI talk to the AI and do the interview. Or it can say, okay, I would like to schedule an interview with a human, with the hiring manager the hiring manager is available at on Thursday at 4 o'clock, Friday at 3 o'clock, Saturday 2 o'clock, for example. Are you available on these at these times? He says yes. Then the invite is sent. The invite is sent to the hiring manager's calendar is booked. The invite is also sent to the candidate. So it solves a lot of problems. So from resume to interview, it is within a few minutes, right? And then let's say the AI does the interview. It generates a report. It will flag issues. It will flag good things. It will score on communication skills, knowledge, confidence, a lot of the areas that are not a human. It goes beyond what a human would do, uh, um, uh, and evaluate them. So what this makes is, what would a human do now? A human recruiter now can think about strategic decision making. What that means is, I've got four candidates who are really good, and I'm going to talk to the four candidates, and I'm not going to talk to them on basic subject matter expertise because the AI has already evaluated it. I see the video, I see the detailed reports, I see what the transcript between the candidate and the AI. I see everything. Now I know that all these four candidates have the subject matter expertise. Now let me talk about my expectations. The hiring manager now can talk about their expectations, then say, okay, in this role I need somebody with this skill set, or I need somebody who's done this. Let's say, for example, this is an organization that is very people centric, and the candidate will have to fight through a lot of people's ideas to get the job done. I'm Let me concentrate on that specific aspect, something that is very niche to the organization that the AI will not be able to ascertain. So it enables the human to focus on strategic things that really matter to them. Now, before we move on to talk about some of what can AI interviews do, what it cannot, now that we have understood AI interviews, let me go through give you a sample how the AI interview will look. This is like a quick 1 minute clip from our software, and then I'll stop here for questions, and then we can move forward.
How familiar are you with GMP documentation requirements, and how do you ensure compliance?
So that's the AI asking the candidate the question. The candidate is on the screen. Okay. In case what this means, to the right is the candidate. To the left, the candidate has shared his entire screen to ensure that the candidate, when he's answering, does not open any tab on his laptop, which is something in a traditional virtual interview you can't do. So in an AI interview, you can block the candidate from accessing any other tab, and then we can enable the candidate to use his original thinking to answer these questions. So that is the shared screen to the left. To the right is the candidate's video that is recorded, and then the AI has just asked the question. Now the candidate is going to answer.
See, I'm familiar with good manufacturing practice with GMP documentation requirements, which are essential for ensuring the quality, safety, and efficiency of pharmaceutical products, medical devices, and tool products. GMP documentation provides a framework for controlling and monitoring the manufacturing process.
Can you provide an example of how you have ensured accurate record keeping and compliance with GMP documentation requirements in your previous role? How familiar are you with GMP documentation?
Sorry.
Controlling and
How you have ensured accurate record keeping and compliance with GMP documentation requirements in your previous role?
So this is the follow-up question. For example, if you noticed, this is kind of for a chemist role, I think, a production chemist role. Um, uh, if you see the candidate's answer was very very basic. It was like very bookish. Now the AI is asking, trying to probe more, right? Give us an example. We would like to understand how you actually did it in a previous role. That's trying to get to the best possible answer from the candidate to evaluate in a very structured way.
see, ensuring accurate recording, keeping, and GMP compliances. I remember in my previous role, I implemented a comprehensive record keeping system to ensure accurate and compliant documentation. So if I talk about that example, so implementations of that was implementation of electronic batch records, that was EBRS. If it has like it's improved the accuracy, the EBRS system ensure accurate and reliable record keeping which and it has like the system ensure compliance with the GMP regulations and standards and reducing the risk of non-compliances. So by implementing an electronic batch record systems, we are able to ensure accurate record keeping and the compliance with the GMP documentation.
It's great that you implemented an electronic batch system for compliance. Can you provide specific examples of how you ensured accurate record keeping within this system?
So it's asking more, right? From the candidate's response, the AI is trying to probe more, and it can go on forever, right? Until it gets the right score. So that's how an AI interview would look. Now there are different models to it, different variations, but in general, right? The AI would ask a question, the candidate is needs to respond, and once the candidate responds, the AI will further probe. The candidate can also ask questions to the AI, ask saying, "Okay, tell me more. Tell me more about the role, or what is the salary, or what's the next process, or what? Tell me more about the company." The candidate can also ask a lot of the basic questions that any candidate would ask a HR, and then the AI will answer. Right now, you could do a coding interview. Right, if for example for software developer roles, you could actually code and ask them to code. And then the AI will start probing based on what the source code that the program that the candidate typed, right? So it can go on. So this is a snippet of how an a AI interview would happen. This was a long interview. I just selected 3 questions in an interview to show it, right? So
Okay, to ensure accurate record keeping with the electronic batch systems, as I
I will
mentioned,
just
I
try to move on
implemented
to
particular example I told you.
the next step. Before we move on to this slide, right? I will stop here and wait. Take some questions. If there are any questions, please type it in comments. I'm just checking. Okay, just okay. There is a question around can can AI talk in different languages? Yes, AI can talk in different languages. Yeah, it can talk in as many languages as you can train the AI for. So yeah, can it detect if a candidate is using AI tools and reading scripted answers? Of course, yes. I was going to talk about it in the subsequent slides. It can detect. So there are a number of security mechanisms that can enable this to happen. The way we have done, because I'll tell about ours, because then there are others who have done differently. The way we have done, we look for eye catching. That video, because it was done by us, it was our team who did it a demo video. Uh, we didn't show the eye catching, but generally we look for eye tracking. We look for, there is something called stylometric analysis. Stylometric is how the candidate talks. What is the level of words that he is using, and does he use the same words throughout does he use the same style throughout uh, uh, the interview, or are there places where he has used a different style, or he's used words that look very bookish or not really his real vocabulary. So we capture the speed at which he talks, and then we also look at, is this actually from an AI, right? We compare that with common AI, like ChatGPT and Claude, to see, is this an output from an AI? And then in the end, we also look for coding as well. How did he type? How fast did he type? What was his approach towards his typing and so forth? And because a lot of this requires the candidates to talk from their past projects, from their past experience, um, once the AI starts going into the nitty gritties of their past experience, if it's scripted, then it becomes very difficult for the candidate to answer. We can clearly see that. What kind of questions can AI interviewers ask as they are generic and role specific? So it is both. We generally we have tuned the model to make it role specific, and we suggest role specific, and we suggest behavioral questions as well. Otherwise, if you just say, for example, can you explain the concept of encryption in cyber security? Now that is bookish, right? Anybody who has read the book will be able to answer. But the real purpose of AI is to evaluate the candidates appropriately. So what we suggest and the way we have trained is, instead of asking, can you explain the concept of encryption in cybersecurity, you can say, how did you implement encryption for an app that you have developed in the past, that you see in your resume? In your resume, you said you have developed this particular app. How did you go about implementing encryption? Now that is a different way to ask a question, and then it's like a behavioral question. The candidate will have to answer how he did it in the past. So that way, the AI will be able to understand and extract and score appropriately. Any questions? Okay, let's move on. So what can AI interview do? Just like an advantage, it can cut 44 to it can cut the average time that we have seen that we saw. 44 days is the average time to hire. It can cut that from 44 to 21 days, and at least up to 35 to 40% of the recruiter time can be saved from manual tasks like scheduling, doing the initial screening calls, and so forth. That can be cut short, and it can naturally, when the recruiter saves that time, the recruiter can then spend his time on more strategic thinking, right? Thinking whether this candidate will be a cultural fit for us, will specifically help the recruiter improve their quality of hire metrics. So that is something the AI can do. So where does this really work, right? Does it work for all roles? At the moment, it works for a few roles. I'll tell you where we have specifically customized it. It really works in high volume roles, right? If anything that is you require 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, for example, blue collar roles, BPOs, logistics, anywhere you require a lot of high volume recruitment, this will really work, because once you put this in action, it will automatically send the interviews will automatically happen. You will see that a lot of the information that you need from the candidate has already has been generated. So it's a game changer for high volume recruitment. And then tech where you require a lot of coding, a lot of problem solvings. Yeah, you can enable the AI to, you can ask the AI to give one coding question or one big major coding problem, and ask the programmer to solve it within an hour, right? And then the AI can ask every questions from why the programmer did this, what was his logic, and all that. All those questions the AI can ask. Fresher recruitments, recruitments in colleges and universities, it really works, right? Because fresher grad recruitments are a different pain, but by automating a lot of this, it really works. And then last is a lot of staffing agencies are now using it, because a typical problem with staffing agencies is they have to do the interview, right? They have to shortlist the best candidates, and they have to forward it to the client. Most of the times we see that the clients are rejecting the shortlisted candidates. Then they have to redo the entire process. Now most of the clients now expect only 2 or 3 resumes at the most. So the staffing agencies will have to shortlist like hundreds and hundreds, and then narrow down on 2 or 3, and then they have to send it to the hiring managers. And what if the hiring manager rejects all the 3? So this really helps. The reason is because you do the AI interview, the AI interview generates the report, it generates the video, the questions asked, what did the candidate answer, everything is given as a report. And the AI can conduct in-depth interviews, something that the staffing agency are not equipped with, right? Because staffing agencies are not equipped in, are not well versed in all the fields. So there might be areas where they have to rely on on the candidates, what the candidates say. In this case, the AI interview can dwell deep into every field and generate a beautiful report, and the hiring manager can then take a decision based on the report that the AI interview has generated. So it works really well for staffing agencies. Now what we see is, we are seeing that this really works for manufacturing industries and electronic and electrical circuits, because now we see a lot of companies asking for, initial questions would be, a circuit will be shown to the interviewer, to the candidate, and the question will be asked on the circuit, electrical circuit, and the candidate will have to answer, right? We are doing that. So that's a lot of things that those are the niche areas that the AI is solving, like areas around electronics, electrical, manufacturing, SCADA systems, and so forth. Very niche interview patterns, and then areas where they have to draw an architecture diagram, and then the AI will identify the architecture diagram and evaluate that, right? So those areas as well, the AI interviews are going and adding a lot of value. So how will the AI interview hiring workflow look like, right? Once once you've implemented it, right? That, I think I've explained it. You start with job application, you go to screening, and then you do an initial AI interview, and then you go to further interview. So resume gets screened. Within 5 minutes, an AI call is made to the candidate, and then if he is good, then within the next 5 minutes, an AI interview is sent to the candidate. And the general trend is, you give the AI gives them, and you can set the AI to give them 48 hours to do the interview. Most of the time, the candidates will do it that night, and then you get to see the report. So within 48 hours of you applying for the candidates applying for the job, within 48 hours, the two rounds of interviews have happened, and then the third day, you can then forward the recommended candidates to the hiring manager for further assessment by the hiring manager. Now, the success rate varies. For example, from resume screening, every resume gets screened. For every 100 AI calls made to the candidate's phone, within 24 hours, the AI, this is our stats. The AI is able to reach out to around 85, 90 people out of 100 and make the conversation with them. And out of every 90 people, I think while it varies for by roles and other parameters, generally for every 100 calls the AI makes to the candidate and is able to talk to the candidate, I think around 10 to 20 clear and go on, or sometimes even 30, depending upon how you set the criteria, go on to be sent an AI interview. And then in AI interview, 70% to 75% complete the AI interview. And at the end, you get like 4 or 5 people who are recommended by AI. So these are the best 5 guys. And then you will have like 20 other guys either recommended with concerns or not recommended. Now it is your decision to take whether you want to just go with the recommended candidates that AI has recommended, or you also want to review the reports of others, right? Others who the AI has not recommended after 3 rounds. And then you might want to use your human judgment to take a decision. But that's generally the stats, right? Which is very effective. So what are some of the common questions that we should be worried about, right? First question is, can AI interviewers shortlist the right candidates, right? That's the most important thing, right? The ultimate goal is, once the AI shortlists, like say 3 resumes after speaking to the candidates, and you send it to the hiring manager does the interview with the candidate, and the hiring manager says, yes, these 3 are the best, and then hires them. That is the win, right? For AI interviewers. Does it do it? Yes, it does it, and it is getting better by the day, and it has a 95% accuracy, and if the AI recommends somebody, that is a 95% accuracy. And why I'm saying it is improving by the day is because of, as you know, candidates might cheat, right? That goes on to the second question: is cheating possible? Cheating is certainly possible, but with the tools implemented, cheating has become very, very low, because you will be surprised, in certain roles in certain regions, you'll see that 80% of the interviews, virtual interviews, or the AI will say that no, the authenticity is bad because this is something. So you will see a lot of that information coming up, right? So the best candidates. So cheating, is it still possible? It is still possible, but in a very less scale, because the AI can catch everybody, right? It can look at your eye, your where you're looking. It can look at your the way you're talking, the kind of words you're using. Are you copying from some other source? Because all that gets captured. Everything gets captured. So it's very difficult. And then what if somebody else is helping, right? Then are there two voices in the video, right? This is my original voice. Is there another voice coming in the middle, right? So it is becoming very difficult. But it also becomes another problem, right? When you see in some interviews, it is a matter of how many candidates will you interview to get the right candidate, right? Because in some areas we have seen, after 40 interviews, 36 they were just looking at somewhere and talking, even and then the report clearly told them that no, it's not authentic, right? So yeah, cheating is possible, but it's very difficult. And can AI hallucinate and show bias? Yes. Like human, as I was talking about human thought process, like human thought process, AI relies on the data it is trained on. Can it show bias and can it hallucinate? Of course, it can. And we have seen that happen. There are multiple cases of bias. Does not mean just gender bias, right? Bias could go beyond that. Colleges that they have studied, we have seen AI biased over certain colleges, certain universities, biased over certain names. There are a number of biases that AI can do. This is something that we got to be very careful about. How do we solve them? We solve them by being more specific, right? When we post a job and ask the AI to do the interview, what we do is we have to tell as much information as possible to the AI. Tell AI any college is okay. I specifically want 5 years of experience, right? And I want somebody with this experience. I don't care about the gender. I don't care about. So the very specific stuff, the more specificity we provide, we can resolve bias. But can it completely eliminate it? Does that mean that we will no longer monitor the AI, and AI will run on its own? That's not going to happen, right? AI is not here to replace human recruiters. Then that is dangerous. Us being a human AI company, we that's very dangerous. So AI will do its job. It will automate the repetitive tasks, but we need the talent acquisition manager, the experts, to monitor how the AI is doing, and as they make the tweaks, the AI learns and becomes better. So that comes to the end of the session. If you like to see it, if you like to do a demo, when you would like to experience it firsthand, how an AI would work, just log into our website recruit.io, and then you can do a demo interview there as a candidate, see how the AI works, or you can sign up as for a free trial, and then you can be an employer and you can test it, right? Just sign up and then or reach out to us. We will help you with more details. And if you're interested in more details, more information, please reach out to us. We will schedule a separate demo, and we will give you all the information that is needed. So that comes to the end. Any questions? Any questions? There's a question around how long will it take for an AI to be integrated into the organization. It probably will take. It's very quick. If you have an ATS, the integration with the ATS will have to happen. If it's an existing integration, it's very quick. But if there is no ATS, you can start right away, right? You can start in 5 minutes. If you need an integration with ATS, it probably takes 1 to 2 weeks, but then it's fast. So there's a question around what happens if the candidate's audio quality is poor. That is a problem we generally face. What happens if the candidate's audio quality is poor or video quality is poor? Sometimes such a situation happens. in those cases where we got to ask them to redo the interview. That's a very rare case, because nowadays we have got checks and balances in place. For example, when the audio is poor and the AI is not able to capture the audio, the interview stops there, and then the AI asks the candidate to check the audio and start. So there are checks and balances in place. But then after all of this, one or two cases where we don't get the right transcript, but we solve them. We have solved them, but also we tell the candidate to take the interview again. Can Recruit's AI handle multiple languages or regional accent? Yes, it does. So it can handle in Hindi, it can handle in English, it can handle in Tamil, Telugu. Now we have also trained the Philippine voice, Tagalog, Filipino, and stuff like that. And then we done American English, Australian English, and so forth. Yes, it can handle multiple languages and regional accents. Any questions? Okay, then I think we've just come to the end of the webinar. If you have more information, you need a detailed demo, or you have any queries that you want answered, please reach out to my email, or once you log into our website, you can fill a form, and then we will, or you can WhatsApp this number, and we are more than happy to help. Thank you. Thanks for joining this webinar. Thank you so much.